I know you have just missed me, so don't forget to write about it in the comments below and give me a heart like. And it's not just because you missed me, but also because you will like my news today. I'm Maria Drutska, and today my news, among other things, includes the burning of another factory in the Rostov region of the so-called Russia, the burning of military airfields in Russia, how Putin once again embarrassed himself in front of the whole world, and finally about the new hysterics of Russian propagandists and calls for further Russian war crimes. So let's begin. Early yesterday morning, there was unrest in Rostov region. Ukrainian combat drones attacked a target in the large industrial city of Kamensk-Shakhtinsky. The Russian Ministry of Defense and local authorities, as usual, lied and claimed that intercepted the UAVs. The governor reported that several UAVs were shot down by air defense forces. Debris fell on the industrial area and non-residential building windows were damaged. The exact target hit was not disclosed by the head of Rostov region. However, it is known that Kamensk-Shakhtinsky houses the notable Kamensky Combine. This federal state enterprise is one of the largest chemical plants in southern Russia and a city-forming enterprise of the city. 13 years ago, CIA partially declassified data related to creation of the solid-fuel intercontinental ballistic missile RT-2, stating that the Kamensky Combine was involved in composite fuel production for engines on this type and testing installations. It's worth noting that this enemy target has previously been hit by Ukrainian drones, first in April 2024, as reported by Astra. Before I continue, I want to thank all of you who send coffees on Buy Me Coffee and become Patreon. Subscribe to my Twitter page also, where I post regular updates about the situation in Ukraine, and to my Instagram, where I show the daily life in Ukraine. Now, let me tell you about the attack on the Russian airbase Morozovsk. The head of Ukrainian intelligence confirmed a strike by drones on the military airfield in Morozovsk and promised a new attack. The attack on the Morozovsk military airbase in Rostov region on June 14th was carried out by the main intelligence directorate, GUR, confirmed General Budanov, head of the agency, speaking to the war zone media. He stated that at least 70 Dragon and Splash drones were used in the strike launched from Ukrainian territory. The Morozovsk airbase houses Russia's 559th Guard Bomber Aviation Regiment with Su-34, Su-24 and Su-24M fighters used in the war against Ukraine. Satellite images from Planet Labs show the aftermath of the massive attack, including damage to aircraft hangars. Through the destroyed roof of one building, two Su-34 bombers are visible, likely having sustained some damage. Near the hangars, there is also a small crater and signs of fire. Russian sources acknowledged the attack but differed in their assessment. Some pro-Kremlin Telegram channels claimed no aircraft were damaged, while others reported the death of 6 pilots and injured to 10 more. Budanov mentioned the assessment of combat damage is ongoing, so comprehensive information on this matter is currently unavailable. When asked if GUR fighters plan a new attack on the airbase, he answered affirmatively. Vladimir Putin publicly outlined for the first time the conditions for ending the war in Ukraine and threatened Kiev and its allies that Russia's demands could change later. This happened on the eve of a peace summit in Switzerland. According to analysts at the Institute of the Study of War, Putin likely aimed to undermine Western support for Ukraine with his statements about a peace plan and Russia's supposed readiness for negotiations. They noted that Putin's information operation the day before June 14 summit about Russia's readiness for negotiations on terms equivalent to Ukraine's capitulation could confuse the purpose of Ukraine's initiated global peace summit in Switzerland on June 15-16. Analysts point out that Putin deliberately laid out his demands for peaceful negotiations in Ukraine one day before the start of the Global Peace Summit. His aim was to undermine Western support. Ginger. Come here. Undermine Western support. Peace negotiations. I thought so. His aim was to undermine Western support for Ukraine's legitimate demands from Russia and divert attention from the tasks of achieving international consensus on preventing Russia's illegal aggressive war from leading to an unjust victory. Let me remind you what this mad grandpa said. Putin stated that for peaceful negotiations to begin, Ukraine must withdraw its troops from Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson regions within their administrative borders, which means he even wants Ukraine to just gift him territories, big cities that he hasn't managed to occupy. Putin claimed that Russia does not want to freeze the conflict but intends to definitely stop the war. According to the Russian dictator, for this to happen, Ukraine must abandon plans to join NATO and have a neutral, not allied, non-nuclear status, ensure the rights of Russian speakers, undergo denazification, demilitarization, and accept new territorial realities. Additionally, Putin stated that agreements on the peaceful resolution of the military conflict in Ukraine must be enshrined in international treaties. These agreements must include the lifting of sanctions against Russia. Putin did not prove any guarantees that Russia would not start a new war. He placed responsibility for rejecting the proposed peace deal on Ukraine and its allies. Today we are making another concrete real peace proposal. If Kiev and Western capitals refuse it, it is their political and moral responsibility for continuing bloodshed, Putin declared. To conclude his speech at the Russian Foreign Ministry, he warned Ukraine and its allies that conditions for Russia's readiness to end the war may change later. In essence, the Russian proposal looks like this. Give us your territories. Abandon your sovereignty and subjectivity. Leave yourself defenseless, no alliance membership, and lift together with Western countries all sanctions completely and immediately. Reminding you, the Peace Summit is taking place in Switzerland on June 15-16. Within the event, leaders of many countries present sharply criticized the ceasefire conditions put forward by Putin. For example, Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni called Putin's plan propaganda, effectively proposing that Ukraine leave Ukraine. Similar thing was also expressed by German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who described the ideas of the Russian President Putin as a dictatorial piece. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte is convinced that Putin's statements indicate panic and considers them silly. US Vice President Kamala Harris stated that Vladimir Putin is not talking about negotiations but about capitulation. At the G7 summit sidelines, President Zelensky stated that Putin will not stop, even if his ultimatums are met. He also drew a parallel with Nazi dictator Adolf Hitler before the start of World War II. This is exactly what Hitler did when he said, "Give me part of Czechoslovakia and everything will end here." But no, historical lies. When then it was Poland, then the occupation of all of Europe. Putin mouse Peskov responded to Zelensky's comments on Putin's proposal by stating that Putin's proposal is precisely a peace initiative. Interpreting it as ultimatum is incorrect. Well, in short, everyone who was attending summit smiled, laughed off on Putin's wet fantasies on Ukraine's capitulation. Summit was successful, among other things, with many agreements reached on additional assistance to Ukraine. Perhaps I will even make a separate video about this later. And now we are waiting for the promised weapons, F-16s, new Patriots, in order to achieve victory over the terrorist country, Russia. And finally, classic Solovyov, once again on federal television channel. He called for attacks on Germany, comparing it to Ukrainian city of Vovchansk. Look at this video. He says the Germans probably want Russian soldiers to come this time and not leave, and that Germany will look like or even worse than what the Russians did to Ukraine in Vovchansk. Also, propagandists are now openly calling for and supporting Russian army war crimes. He called for the destruction of the Kiev Dam so that the capital of Ukraine and its residents would be submerged under water. Anyway, too many news, too little time. That's it for today, and I want to thank all of you for supporting Ukraine, watching Ukrainian content. And if you liked this video, you can support the channel's development on Patreon or buy me a coffee. See you soon, and Slava Ukraini!